So I'm sitting here together with Pehong Chen. I hope I pronounced your name right. Yes. You're the CEO of Broadvision. Right. Broadvision is an old tanker within the content software business.
Enterprise portal, content management, and e-commerce.
So and now you're entering the social business sphere with
exactly. So last few years we've changed completely our focus from traditional on-premise software, expensive, big implementation, big ticket item. Some people refer that as aircraft carrier business, to a much newer agile business in the cloud, which is both a SaaS and a PaaS, called Clearvale, which is an entire enterprise social networking platform.
Okay, so there are a lot of products out there, product offerings out there, which are positioning themselves as an enterprise social networking approach. So where would you say is your uniqueness within this space?
Yeah, the way we believe that we are really superior is something we call MBC. We are newer, we're better, and we're cheaper.
Okay.
Newer because after this year will be our 19th anniversary for our company. So we've been in this enterprise, we're truly a pioneer in knowledge management, using the web to do knowledge management, content management, and portal. So we've got substantial amount of both real experience and know-how in this area. And about 3+ years ago, we decided that we will build a brand new platform using the newest architecture, newest technology, but really borrowing in all our experience that we learned from our first generation of technology. So new is a good thing in this case, but better, because in the true enterprise social business, others tend to really take a corner of it. So for example, a lot of them take the approach of just being the enterprise Twitter, for example, providing you with a chattering stream within your company. But you will find that it's typically very hard to sort of immerse that into your real day-to-day work that becomes an essential part of how you work. People still revert to what they are comfortable or familiar with, things like email, having a lot of meetings and things like that. What we do very different from others is that we provide you with one unified platform of engagement so that all your users, whether internally your workforce or externally your customer partners, can share in as many spaces as needed without any IT overhead. Everyone can do it themselves. But more importantly, you can think of it as a place rather than as a tool. It's a virtual place in the cloud, anywhere in the world. However far your enterprise is or your ecosystem is, that you can work in there. And from there, you can also very easily connect with others. So think of it as really a network of networks. But to set up many, many networks like this, if you require IT to do that for you, obviously it would be extremely cost prohibitive. In our case, it's very easy to do, and the experience is similar to a consumer experience, but with all the know-how and protection and security that the enterprise requires. In other words, we have a platform to help you do a lot of sharing in lots of different collaboration spaces, but also to allow you not able to share. So sharing and not sharing actually is the two sides of the same coin. So a lot of what we bring to the table is we understand what enterprise really needs, and we bring that to bear with the newest technology to solve a company that today, in today's economy, every company is global. Every company is 24/7. And your agenda now is also pretty much controlled by the customers, not by yourself anymore. So you need to learn how to work socially.
I'm always a friend of trying to nail a software concept down to in one corner of the space. So I see two different approaches within the social sphere. On the one side, approaches which are turning around the activity stream as a central core part of the solution, and on the other side, more around the record system, so the collaborative space of document management or something. So where would you position Clearvale?
Well, so there are really three important sort of concepts here. Like you said, there's many existing systems we refer to as systems of record. So these could be your CRM system, ERP system, or even your existing CMS, content management, document repository. Even in your Outlook, your email, these are all traditional so-called systems of record. And so that's things that you have to address no matter what. In terms of this platform engagement, you want to really embody two important concepts. One is these virtual spaces in the sky, in the cloud, where a lot of linkages can be created into your systems of record, because people do need to work in a three-dimensional space, okay, in which there are documents and maybe records from SAP, and there may be a lot of discussions, maybe a lot of problem-solving videos, whatever necessary to get a job done, the collaboration done. But also aside from that is a stream where all your pooling, all your followings of all the activities can be presented to you. So these two are not conflicting. In fact, they have to be unified together. So all these three different forces, if you can put them together, which we do, then you have the real unified engagement platform.
If we look at the streaming concept or the activity stream, there's always the critics about the information overflow, which is coming with the transparency, which is the side effect of the transparency within the company. How are you coping with this critics or with these problems within the companies?
It's a really boils down to the fact that two things. First of all, I think we will all recognize that different from the traditional push type of communication, which is, or one-to-many type of communication, which is really email, you are really not in control as a recipient. So two things happen there. One is we tend to over CC a lot of people that really didn't need to be in that thread, and that becomes sort of an internal spam, so to speak. It could be another scenario where you don't really know who should be included, so therefore you actually neglecting somebody who can be really helpful in this collaboration. So in other words, using email as a surrogate for multi-party collaboration really is very problematic. We already know that. In an enterprise social network, what we're really doing is to establish a new so-called knowledge cube or knowledge grid. Think of it as sort of like the electrical power grid, where each one of us inside or outside the organization, which can be spread across several networks, as I said earlier, in this ecosystem of networks, we now are able to become an active cell in this grid or in this cube. And instead of pushing, we are doing is pooling, right? We're saying, okay, so I am interested in what you're doing, or we're involved in the same project. So you can begin to follow pooling all the different activities, whether it's other people, other content, or other spaces. Sometimes explicitly by you saying, I want to follow that. Sometimes even more powerful is implicitly, just because you both share the same expertise. You don't even know each other. You may work in China, I work here, we never met before, but we work in the same company. So suddenly, something very magical can happen called serendipity, meaning you have a problem, you don't even know I exist, I actually could help you. So in that case, back to your main question, which is then what about information overload, or sometimes referred to as signal to noise ratio. Too much noise, not enough signal, right? So how do we solve the problem? The way you solve this problem is that, first of all, already, instead of like in email, you're being pushed, you're very passive. Here, the way, because you are pooling, you already are selecting what it is that you really are interested in. What we provide also is both as a prisming, meaning focusing, as well as filtering. So that if you look at our stream, it's not just one tab, you have several tabs that already allows you to categorize the different types of streams into some buckets that allows you to be better focused or prism into the actual issue. You can also reset the priorities. So for instance, you can say, I want to see all activities, or I only want to see activity from beyond, okay, or from that community, or from that particular content. We also have a specific type of activity called tasks. This is a very lightweight workflow we call task flow. So it's not a preset complex BPM, it's people-based BPM. So that, because if you think about how we use communication, oftentimes it's a free-form discussion, but sometimes it truly is an assignment. Please do this. Could you approve that? And so those type of activities go into that particular bucket. And we have other buckets just about notification. So they have relative different types of importance or priority. So what you want to do, therefore, to truly answer your question is the quality of this really, really relies on the signal-to-noise ratio. And if once you understand how to do the following, which really isn't very hard, with all these filters that we provide for you, you'll find this inbox, this social inbox, to be actually a lot more compelling and essential to your work than in the past with your email inbox, where you are basically kind of
Sure, I understand, well, the comparison to the past, but also to the actual situation. Well, if we look on the consumer side, like Facebook, Facebook is using the edge rank, so they have a filter mechanism. And don't we need this kind of filter mechanism of relevance?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can also rank it by relevance. So essentially, think of this as on the one hand, you are pulling, simply because you know you are involved in that. The other direction is by relevance. So the relevance can be as simple as just because we have a shared
connected,
we have a shared interest or we have a shared expertise. You are an expert in enterprise social, I'm an enterprise, so we will be connected that way implicitly. But the other way is by just result. So for instance, your content has been ranked very, very high by everyone else in the network. Then you will bubble up to a leaderboard. Then I'll see, hey, I didn't know, this is such a great piece of work, or this person is such a knowledgeable person. Then it will encourage you to follow. So there are many, many ways for us to make this network, this cube, very rich. Mm-hmm. And when you get this connected, like a power grid, the power can go anywhere you need, right? And you can always get rerouted, whatever. And that's what I think every enterprise needs now, because we are, as I said earlier, in a global economy where no company is standalone. We're always connected to someone else, right, in this global supply chain. So the traditional way of doing business in this otherwise 24/7 and three-dimensional world is not going to work. So we need to create new approaches.
So you are somehow a little bit the new kid on the block in the social sphere in Europe. So what are your strategies to enter the market?
We think that sometimes there's a benefit to be the second mover, not the first mover, because the market still remains very, very, very new. If you look at this as a 24-hour clock, I think we're barely even 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So I think some companies have done some experimentation, and I think most people will agree that the power, the compelling, superior sort of value of this. And so at this point, our strategy to enter the market is to leverage this much higher awareness, much higher sense of value, and be able to convey why there is a newer, better, and cheaper way to do these things. Because you see, compared to how you traditionally buy software or whatever, our new approach is a very, very risk-free, and you don't need to buy until proven that it works, as well as you only pay for what you use. You don't really need to over-purchase like typically a lot of your traditional IT projects tend to be. So I think there's a whole sea change that's happening all across the world in how we utilize software like this or how we procure software like this. But most importantly is how we can truly increase, double, triple our productivity.
Great. Thank you for the interview.